Welcome back, everybody. As we mentioned earlier, Uganda has become the latest African country to join the Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa BRICS group of alliance as a partner. Well, the partner status sets the country in its pathway to become a full member in the near future. Uganda's government officials say by aligning with the BRICS alliance, the East African country is positioning itself to benefit from the deeper economic ties with some of the world's largest emerging markets. For more on this and to look at the African countries holding elections this year, we're joined by Advocate Sipho Mantula, a researcher at the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Studies at UNISA. Advocate, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live. Happy New Year.
Refreshing morning, Simpiwe and Jumbo Africa, and happy Kwanzaa and happy festive season to our viewers.
Indeed. Thank you so much. And what does Uganda's BRICS inclusion mean for the country's politics, human rights and global trade relations?
Simply remember that this admission of Uganda comes from the 2023 Johannesburg declaration when Uganda went to ask to be admitted as a member, and Kazan in 2024 confirmed the role of Uganda. You might have touched on the issue of economic benefit, but also Uganda has been seen as one of the peacekeeping country that has been involved in peacekeeping missions in the African continent. So when we have to locate Uganda, they will play a key role on what people have been calling this mantra of African problems to African solutions. Now, Uganda plays the key role in the Horn of Africa in terms of peacekeeping missions. So for Uganda to be admitted, it also strengthens its role in the global South Bloc, including South Africa, Egypt, and Ethiopia. So one looks at Museveni, he's now looking towards the South and moving away from global North.
And speaking of strengthening its position in the global South, how does Uganda joining BRICS fit into Africa's broader push for greater representation and influence in global governance structures?
Not impure. First, we have to look at Uganda's national interest, and secondly, they will look at their regional interest, which is East Africa community. You will understand that most of the BRICS member states are either part of the regional economic bodies. Example, South Africa is part of SADC, it's part of the AU, but Uganda will also strengthen what you have said is a human rights track record. It will want to improve its human rights compliance. It will want to strengthen its economic growth, but also see itself as a mediator in many conflicts that are in the continent, particularly DRC and Sudan. These are the conflicts that are of a global concern, and Uganda will strengthen its role in terms of the peace mediation and peacekeeping efforts.
And having said that, Advocate, do you foresee any political ramifications within Uganda's government or even political parties as a result of its new BRICS membership?
Absolutely, but I think maybe the young politicians like Bobi Wine might not be happy to say maybe Museveni should have looked internally, but I think for him is to move towards what people are saying we're into the multipolar world. And at the same time, it will have to improve the economic development of Kampala first. It has to improve the East Africa community, but also strengthen the political tolerance in that country, because you will need political tolerance, you will need economic governance that is sound, that will respond to the needs of people of Uganda. And hence I say political parties will have to accept, because Uganda have been pushing this admission since 2023.
Let's now focus on the geopolitical context of Uganda joining the BRICS bloc. With the increasing geopolitical tensions globally, how does the country then position itself in balancing its BRICS membership with its traditional alliances?
Remember that most people have said that the BRICS countries are the countries that are anti-West. I don't think so, Simpiwe. I think for Uganda, it is to strengthen also the African Union Agenda 2063, it to strengthen the East Africa community vision, which has been struggling. If you look at the East Africa community, Somalia, Ethiopia, there have been crises. The issue of Eastern DRC, there have been crises there. The issue of economic growth, as I've said, that the issue of economic development in 2025 will be key in the BRICS countries. The issue of the common currency that has been pushed in the BRICS countries, that there is a need to have the BRICS currency. Uganda sits at a good position to influence that. And secondly, like I said, you cannot talk of economy without the issue of peace and security. So Uganda also comes in as a what I call the multi
Okay, Advocate, we're losing you. Advocate, are you still with us? Okay, we seem to have lost Advocate Sipho Mantula. He's been giving us his analysis on Uganda accepting the BRICS invitation to become a partner. And in just a moment, we'll also look at the African countries holding elections in 2025. Well, he mentioned a very, very valid point and interesting point with regards to Uganda's entry into BRICS affecting its relationship with the Western powers, particularly the United States and the European Union. And I'm quite keen to know how the country will position itself in balancing its BRICS membership with its traditional alliances, and just given the diverse political systems of the BRICS countries. And I'm quite curious to know as well what common ground Uganda can share with other member states. And with regards to the social and the political impact, we'll also focus on Uganda's BRICS membership influence social development programs such as education, healthcare, technology. And one of the bigger issues perhaps would be what role Uganda could play in advocating for African issues within BRICS, particularly in relation to poverty alleviation and sustainable development. And just looking in the future of Uganda, we'd love to know, of course, whether Uganda's membership within BRICS would inspire other African countries to join BRICS in the future, and what this might mean for the future of BRICS as a global bloc. And we'll also look at some of the most important challenges Uganda will need to address in order to fully capitalize on its BRICS membership. So as soon as we get Advocate Sipho Mantula back on the line, we'll be in conversation with him to thresh out some of these issues. Perhaps the biggest issue, of course, is the African countries holding elections in the year 2025. Well, 2024 was, of course, labeled as the super year of elections, with 2025 seems to be no different. We'll see Tanzania, Malawi, Cameroon, Central African Republic and Gabon being amongst other countries to take to the polls. So we'll have a conversation with this and some analysis by Advocate Sipho Mantula. Well, Advocate Sipho Mantula is now back on the line to join us to talk about Uganda joining, being the latest African country to join the BRICS bloc. And of course, we'll also look at the African countries holding elections in 2025. Advocate, please do confirm that you are back with us. Can you hear me?
Simply, I can hear you loud and clear. Apologies earlier.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, the year 2024 was labeled as the super year of elections. This year seems to be no different. I mean, we've seen Tanzania, Malawi, Cameroon, Central African Republic and Gabon, amongst other African countries preparing to hold their elections. Is this perhaps a sign of a strengthening democracy?
Absolutely, but simply remember that the elections in Africa are not only a political tool or a way of choosing leaders, but it's also a tool for socio-economic development of its citizens. And looking at the issues of democracy, governance, and the rule of law, it's very important to look at that. The 2024 elections, we saw a minimal of post-electoral violence. Hence, we see Mozambique, Namibia. But what is key for the 2025 elections is the shaping of economic policies for many African countries, particularly looking at the Sahel region. Coming to the SADC, you only have Tanzania, Malawi. But when you go to the Sahel, an interesting part, it is the role of Gabon, Central African Republic, you see Cameroon, and you see Burkina Faso also coming on this election calendar. But I think what is key is the strengthening of participatory democracy and also the respect for the rule of law, because that's what we have been facing in many elections in the African continent. And the infrastructure, I think one of the key issues that we have to highlight is the issue of infrastructure, that many African countries are struggling with this question of electoral infrastructure, the quality of elections in the rural and urban areas as the major challenge. But broadly simply, like I said, also the question of regional stability. You need peaceful elections that can contribute to what we call cooperation among African countries.
And Advocate, in the Southern African regional country, Malawi's 84-year-old former president, Peter Mutharika, will challenge the current president, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, for the presidency later on this year. And he believes that at his age, he can still be the leader. So what's at stake for the two leaders in the country?
You see, that is the problem of what I call recycled political leadership in the African continent, and aging of leadership. But here again, let us put another twist here.
Yeah.
It's not only the two, by the way, you have Joyce Banda coming back once more.
Yes,
so you
yes.
have one woman who will be contesting with the bishop and a professor and a woman. Now, Malawi is so interesting that all these candidates have to deal with the question of corruption, the question of economic growth, and the food shortage that has been facing Malawi. I think that's the key challenge that faces Malawi now, if one has to depict the challenges that will face the electorate. And I think Joyce Banda, Mutharika, they are likely to come into office, and the bishop might only have tasted the first term of office in 2020, and he faced COVID-19 situation that he could not manage, and the issues of that. He's the most traveled president of Malawi than any other president who have traveled internationally.
Let's now focus on Gabon. Has that country transitioned from the Ali Bongo leadership, and is the country ready to hold elections this year?
You know, since last year when they were putting electoral calendar, I was a bit worried because I used to call Gabon in the name of the Father and the Son. But it seems it's in the name of the Father, the Son, and the cousin. General Bryce Ngwema, he has assured Gabonians that we'll go for the elections come 2025 August. But when you look at the dynamics of Gabon, remember Gabon is in the Sahel region. It has not moved out of ECOWAS. So others will expect Gabon to either follow the three rebels who have moved out of ECOWAS, now becoming ECOWAS, which is Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso. But when you look at Gabon, I don't think that dynasty of Ali Bongo will come back. But the issue is that General Ngwema had to agree and allow the civilian leadership to take over, because Gabon and many other Sahel states simply have been having this issue of militarization of power and not having civilian taking over the state. But Gabon, like I said to you, it is still in that mode of the dynasty of families. Hence, I use that analogy of the father, the son, and the cousin.
But then, just generally speaking, how has the country recovered from that military coup, like economically and socially?
No, you might say, I mean, there have been changes, but none have appeared, because most of these countries, they've been having challenges with their former colonizers. They've been having challenges with governance. And you can say that after the military coup, what has happened is that there was no longer corruption that was being done by Ali Bongo. And at the same time, General Ngwema has been trying to push for constitutionalism, transformation, governance. But I think Gabon has done well so far. Despite that, I mean, you are still having challenges within the neighboring Gabon. Countries that are still coming out of the military coups like Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali, they are doing very well by also dealing with what we call the anti-French sentiments and moving towards Kremlin or Moscow. So Gabon has also been strengthening their relation with Russia.
All right, Advocate, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate your insights.
Thank you very much, Mpio. Asante sana.
Thank you. That was Advocate Sipho Mantula, researcher at the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Studies at the University of South Africa, giving his analysis on Uganda accepting the BRICS invitation to become a partner, also looking at African countries holding elections in 2025.